Welcome to News and Views with the Mayor. We're glad to have you with us today. I don't know if you're going to be televising this morning, this afternoon, but we're glad to have you with us regardless of what time you're tuning in today. We've got an exciting show that we want to talk to you about. Got some just truly exciting things that are going on in Douglasville as it relates to economic development. Economic development is an exciting thing to talk about, especially when you see great things going on within our community. We have a lot of those that are happening, and that's what we're going to be talking about with you today on our show. But economic development, what is economic development? Why are we concerned about it? Why do we want to bring new things into our community? And is that a good thing? Certainly we're looking at new things, but we want to make sure that the companies that we bring to Douglasville are the kind of quality companies that will continue to add to and enhance the quality of life that you have grown accustomed to and that you like in our community. We don't want to bring jobs or companies to our community that are not going to bring the same quality of life and be good business and community partners with us. So we're going to be talking about some of those companies this morning. We're also going to be talking about something that you hear about, but I want you to have a better understanding about, and that's tax abatements. What exactly is tax abatements? When you hear us talking about abating taxes for large companies, what is that? Why is it done? And is it costing you, the taxpayer, money? No, it's not. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about that in a few minutes with our guest, Mr. Jeff Noles, who is the Executive Director for the City of Douglasville Development Authority, because we want you, our viewers, and our citizens within our community to have a good, clear understanding of what your government is doing to help enhance the quality of life within our community. Because you see, we have a very great community, and you, the viewers, are what make it great. We're going to be talking about a lot of things this morning. We're going to be talking about some of the companies that are going to be coming to our community that are going to help enhance our community with better paying jobs, high paying jobs that will help create wealth, that will enable us to keep your taxes low, that will also help us enhance the quality of life for you, our viewers. So we've got a lot of exciting things going on, and as you can tell, we're excited about it, and we're going to work diligently for you to continue in our process, in our quest to help make the city of Douglasville, Douglas County, our community be one of the premier places in America to live, work, play, and raise a family, and ensure that you're able to have a safe community doing that. So in a few minutes, we're going to open our show with Mr. Jeff Noles, our Executive Director, going to tell you a little bit about his experience, his background, and what qualifies him to be the Executive Director for the City of Douglasville's Development Authority. So stay tuned. We'll be back in a few minutes, and I'll look forward to seeing you in News and Views with me, the Mayor.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Welcome back to News and Views with the Mayor. We're here on set this morning with our guest, Mr. Jeff Noles, who is the Economic Development Director for the city's Development Authority, and we're certainly glad to have him with us this morning, as well as you, our viewers out there in the audience. So let's open it up, and like I said, I've introduced Jeff and asked him if he'd tell us a little bit about himself, a little background, experience, time with the city, that kind of thing.
Sure. I've been the executive director of the City of Douglasville Development Authority for about 1.5 years now. And that sounds like I'm a freshman at doing what I do, but I come with a wealth of institutional knowledge. I've been with the city a little over 10 years now. I'll be celebrating my 11th year in May. Most of that time was spent as the Director of Development Services and the city engineer right here in City Hall. And over the past 3 to 5 years, I really got to focus on building projects because we were in that capital growth mode. And that's what governments do when the economy's bad, is they invest in their own communities, put people back to work. And we were able to do that. Had a lot of fun doing it and gained a wealth of knowledge, transitioned into the Development Authority about 1.5 years ago and have had immense success, I believe. I think we're all very happy with the direction that the CDDA is going. Before that, graduated from Georgia Institute of Technology in 1998, Douglas County High School graduate in 1993.
So you're homegrown?
I am homegrown.
Born and raised?
Born and raised.
Right here in Douglasville and Douglas County?
Right here in Douglasville and Douglas County.
Decided to stay?
I left for a little bit. I gained a little bit of knowledge in and around the world and came back home. Decided that what better way to impact raising a family than to come back to where you were raised. So it's been a fun adventure for sure.
I believe you know your bride, and you have 2 beautiful young kids. How old are they?
I have a 3-year-old and an 8-year-old. 3-year-old
and an 8-year-old. Very active in the community, active in sports. I know you help coach or do some things like that. So, and I believe you live, about 2 blocks from downtown Douglasville?
About that.
Okay. So homegrown, wealth of experience, Georgia Tech graduate, probably took an engineering class or 2 while you were there?
Just a few.
Just a few. So it makes you very qualified and capable when it comes to talking about building and development and all the things that go with that. So there's a wealth of experience, wealth of knowledge there. Certainly you've shown loyalty to the city. Going on your 11th year, congratulations. We're certainly glad to have you. You do a great job for the city. But let's talk a little bit about, and when we say CDDA, tell our viewers that acronym. What does that stand for?
Sure. The CDDA is the City of Douglasville Development Authority, not to be confused with the DDA or the County Development Authority. There's a lot of acronyms floating out there, but the City of Douglasville Development Authority is the authority that focuses on industrial economic growth in and around the city of Douglasville.
Well, that's why I want you to kind of define that for our viewers out there in the audience. So many times in government, we use all these acronyms. I know I'm on the ARC, and when I first went on the ARC board, they handed me about 3 pages, maybe 4, of a list of acronyms. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to make sure when we talk about CDDA, our viewers knew exactly what we're talking about.
Sure.
Well, let's get on into our conversation, Jeff, and talk to me a little bit about the CDDA and define exactly what it is and what the role of the Development Authority is for Douglasville.
Well, it's a piece of that bigger initiative to make Douglasville, or help make Douglasville, a premier place in America to live, work, and play, and raise a family. We're one of the pieces that helps to accomplish that by bringing in capital investment through new businesses, by bringing in jobs, higher paying jobs. If it had to be summed up in one little sentence, it's to help create wealth in the community.
So how do we go about that? You talk about jobs. Are we just interested in just bringing jobs to the community, or do we care about the quality and the pay scale for these jobs?
That's why we say wealth. You can't bring wealth by bringing minimum paying jobs. And we see that a lot around the state. Some people are happy just bringing in jobs. We're not. Our focus is that wealth generation in the community. And to be able to do that, you have to bring in higher than your average wage rate. And that's what we focus on, and we've been very successful in that. over the past 12
how do
months.
we do that? Do we incentivize the companies any way to attract the higher paying jobs? How do we go about that?
Absolutely. Late last year, before that, we began working on a new incentive package. Before I came on board with the CDDA, we had a incentive program that incentivized capital investment and incentivized jobs, but those jobs paying more than $8 an hour. Once I came on, we began working with our tax commissioner to focus on what it is we were really trying to accomplish and how do we generate wealth. And we realized real quickly that we needed to really focus in on those higher paying jobs. So now we don't start at $8 an hour. We start at $15 an hour. So we look at companies that are paying for a number of jobs greater than $15 an hour, which is significantly higher than our average wage rate right now.
How about the quality of the companies? Do we care about their background or their goals or missions, or how do we look at that?
Absolutely. When you put all the pieces together, you sometimes seem to attract a certain type of company. And that's what we've been able to do. We've put all the pieces together and we've attracted, our success over this past year has been to attract privately held companies that are well positioned as far as a capital growth standpoint, that really care about their employees. They pay the higher than average wage rate, not just in our community, but in their industry, because they know that their employees are what makes their business and makes them successful. So we do care. We sit down. We oftentimes visit with those organizations before we bring them into the city of Douglasville. Oftentimes they'll engage us, and then we do a little research, find out who they are, maybe go visit with them, sit down, see what they're all about. We definitely do a lot of research to ensure that who we're bringing to the city of Douglasville is what the city of Douglasville wants.
Well, let's touch on a couple of things, because I know this is something that will be of great concern to our viewers and the audience, because so many times they hear about tax abatements and tax incentives. And I know myself, years ago, I would hear about that and I would think, well, you know, the big companies, they don't have to pay taxes, but me as a property owner, I have to pay taxes, so I'm subsidizing them. Tell me a little bit about how that works so that our viewers in the audience will have a better understanding about what we call, when we're talking about tax abatements. Sure. And investing in companies to bring them. Explain to our viewers a little bit about how that works.
Absolutely. So like you said, investment, and it is exactly that. It's an investment of the community in an organization. And what we do here at the city is we build a return on investment model. We look at these companies, we look at their abatements, and oftentimes, yes, there are tax abatements that are involved, and we look at that information, and if we return a positive purely on tax, on property tax within the abatement schedule, we find that to be a positive investment. And all the ones that the City Council and the City of Douglasville Development Authority has engaged with over the past couple of years has returned in a positive fashion during that abatement schedule. Oftentimes, like I said, it's a 10-year abatement schedule, and we look purely at that property tax. And what we found is if it will return purely on property tax, it'll return pretty much everywhere else.
Well, that's something, if we don't do anything else in this interview, I want our viewers to really understand and be comfortable with, because I know when I've had the conversations with you, that's something I've talked about. I look at us as kind of like a company, mm-hmm. and our viewers out there are the stockholders. They're mm-hmm. our shareholders. They allow us to take their monies, which is their tax monies, and then when I say invest it within the community for public safety, maintenance mm-hmm. and sanitation, roads, and all of that. So when they hear us talking about abating those taxes, I want them to understand that what we're doing is investing in a company by abating the taxes mm-hmm. or relieving them of the taxes. But when we do that, that then allows them to invest in the community, both in capital investment, mm-hmm. which creates jobs, also in the creation of jobs, and also in the additional taxes that they generate.
Absolutely.
And the wealth, like you say, that it brings to the community. allowing us to keep the taxes down. And all this sounds good, and I know our viewers may hear that, but do we have a model or a way to track that? Because that's the key. When you talk about something like this, it all sounds good,
Right.
but do we measure it, and do we have some way of tracking it? And then also holding the companies accountable to what they say they're going to do.
Sure.
Explain a little bit about that, if you will, to our viewers.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we actually have a report that comes in every year from every company that we're engaged with, and we look at those numbers to ensure that they're tracking along with what they've said. If they don't meet their 85% threshold, that's 85% of what they promised us during that tax year, they pay 100% of their tax that year.
So we do have a way of holding them accountable to what they say they're going to do.
Absolutely, they're called clawbacks. We've seen them in our legal terminology a number of times, and it basically allows us to get back what we've invested. And so it's a no risk investment, essentially. With
how do we measure that? Have we looked at that? Have we looked at the models? How are we just saying that, or have we got the third party to look at it?
No, we brought a third party in, and I was getting ready to say, how would a 5,000% return sound?
That'd be pretty good. Right now, I'll take it.
Yeah, right. I believe me.
I'd take a 5% return.
I believe a lot of people would. We've engaged, partnered with the Carl Vinson Institute from the University of Georgia to run a model for us, and they have a very complex algorithm, and it's built with data from all over the United States about specific industry sectors and the types of services they use, the types of impacts they have on your community, and they run that model for us. Based on the input that we give them, and that's the capital investment, the number of jobs, the average wage rate for those number of jobs, and we get an output, and it tells us what their we call it economic impact, but it's essentially gross domestic product, what it is that they create.
So it's the impact that these companies are going to have within our community, and that's a result of the abatement that we've given them.
Sure.
And us attracting them to come to our community.
Absolutely.
And that returns how much?
We are averaging about 5,000%.
And that's based on the model that we had done by the Carl Vinson Institute,
Yes.
who is out of the University of Georgia, who is recognized statewide and nationally for their expertise in economic development, measuring models and that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, I hope that gives our viewers a little bit better understanding of what we're doing. So all that sounds good. Well, let's talk about some of the successes that the CDDA
Sure.
has had this year or this past year. Tell me a little bit about that.
We've got a couple of projects on the books that we closed out in 2013. It was an exciting year. We had McMaster-Carr. I know a lot of people are aware of that. It was a long-time project coming. We worked on that for about 7 years. Very excited to be able to bring them to the city of Douglasville. And it was about relationships with them, about finding the right place and finding the right site for them, and just being a good, friendly neighbor to them. And they were able to find a site. Excited to say they're under construction, and hopefully they'll be within the next 14 to 16 months. They'll be moving along. We had Gordon Foods, who will be groundbreaking here very shortly. It's exciting to say that they are actually under construction, but we'll have their official groundbreaking real soon. They're out of Michigan, the largest food distributor in North America.
Great.
That's a big.
And I believe they're about they're not a big company. They're about what, $10 billion a year, from what I understand.
Yeah, they deliver Canada coast to coast. They're really focused in the Northeast in the United States, but they're moving to the South, and we were glad that they were able to choose Douglasville as their home.
You and I were having dinner one night with one of the guys that was responsible for the site selection, and I think this is something that's very important for our viewers to know. We were having dinner with them, and this individual had been in the Atlanta metropolitan area, from what I understand, for the better part of 3 weeks, looking for a site that they felt best suited their company and their values and their mission statement. And one of the questions that I asked this individual, and you remember it well as we were sitting there, this was after he had chosen Douglasville for their location, and I asked him, I said, tell me, if you will, what was the number one reason that you chose Douglasville? Certainly transportation and all is important, but I said, what was the number one reason that you chose Douglasville as the site to locate your facility, your first one in Georgia. Jeff, you remember what that comment or his answer was?
I do very clearly. The people.
The people. And when he was talking about that, he was talking about the experiences he had in working with you, the employees of the city of Douglasville, as well as you, the viewing audience. He had spent quite a bit of time in our community and wanted to be sure that the company that they were bringing to our community had the same values and aspirations and goals, and they were the type of community that they wanted to be a part of. So I thought that was very, very critical and very important, and it speaks well to you, our viewing audience, also.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things I hear all the time in the community is how can we help do economic development?
We've got just a couple of minutes left. We could go on and talk about this for hours, but if you would, just quickly highlight the couple of the other successes, and then we can talk about some of the local restaurants and businesses, and then close. In closing, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to put you on the spot, but if you would, just quickly highlight some of the other successes as well as some of the restaurants that we brought.
Sure, absolutely. We've got a BioLife facility. It's going to be located on Chapel Hill Road. We also work very closely with them over the past year. They have their permits. They're essentially under construction. And there's not a lot going on the site today. Drove by it yesterday, but they'll be getting under construction real soon. From an economic development standpoint, that's where we stop. But from a what do we do here at the City of Douglasville standpoint, we work really closely with Academy of Sports, really closely to get that project done. I know it had some stops and some starts, but if you drive by the other day, you'll notice that they're well on their way and looking for a great spring grand opening. So Steak and Shake was another that we worked really closely with to get that thing done. We were pivotal in making sure that the developer had what he needed in order to pull the trigger and put a Steak and Shake on Highway 5, as most people have visited there now.
And I think we've got a couple new restaurants, and Aloha Pizza, Thumbs Up Diner just opened in the
Absolutely.
In the old Walmart shopping center, Firehouse Subs.
Yep.
And just in summary, I believe all of this in the last 6 months that has come has been roughly almost 1,000 jobs. The total economic impact was approximately how much?
210 million.
210 million. And so there are some huge successes going on with our City of Douglasville Development Authority. So in closing, got one little question I'd like to ask you. Is there anything coming down the pipeline that may excite our viewers that you may want to tell us about?
Well, if I was able to tell you about it, we'd probably have to kill you.
Oh, well, we don't want to do that.
But we do have some very exciting news coming down. We try to have a great one every couple months. It takes some time to build these projects up, but we've got something that will rival the Braves move to Cobb County.
Oh my goodness. Viewers, you heard that. We don't want to tease you there, but we're going to. We're going to get back with Jeff later on in this month, and hopefully we'll have an announcement to make. You said that it'll rival the Braves
Moved
to Cobb County? I can't wait to find out. So our viewers, tune in later. Next interview with Mr. Noles, our City of Douglasville Development Authority Director, and there's more to come. See you soon. Thank you, Mr. Noles.
Thank you.